Love, light, and blessings. This is Shamanic Arak Priestess here. I just re-recorded because there's like a delay or something going on today for some weird reason with my camera, and I didn't know we were recording, so I was making like the most awkward faces and stuff, and I wasn't like ready to start talking. But I'm going to try to keep this video as condensed as possible. So I have my notes. And so if I look down, it's because of that. First and foremost, thank you so much, guys, for your support. Mm, it is really early in the morning, and I just dropped my daughter off for school, and I had a few moments to record before I started my work day. So I wanted to take the time to record day 12 of Black History Month, 29 Days of Melanated Excellence 2020. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the private messages, emails, but especially the comments in the comment section. And please keep liking, please keep watching, please keep subscribing, and things like that, because I really, really, really appreciate that. And please keep leaving comments, and thumbs up and all that, because it just encourages me to keep going. I have and still continue to put a lot of effort in researching a lot of the people that I'm sharing with you guys, and just the videos in general that I'm making. So today 12 is going to be a little different. I'm actually going to be discussing a topic that's very dear to my heart. And then the second part of this video is going to be a topic that we're going to discuss, which is ancestral healing, and the importance of that, which is going to tie into the workshop that I'm going to be giving due to high demand. I have the other ones finishing up, the ancestral healing, the first one that started in the end of January. But a lot of people were disappointed when they missed the first bout. So due to that, I'm doing a second and the last one of 2020, which is going to be in May of 2020, and things like that. So we're going to be discussing that. And we're going to be discussing also, so I started to do, instead of a monthly favorite, I kind of enjoy more doing mid-months. So where am I at around the middle of the month, and goals that I have for the remaining of the month. I feel like that kind of more resonates with me now. So I'm going to be doing that second discussion as well. So it's going to be a 2-in-1 video. Okay, so let's start with the topic that I want to do, and I'm going to be drinking my morning coffee because having a hard time waking up this morning. So today we're going to be discussing ancestral healing. So the reason why I did this workshop, so as most of you know, I originally, the spirits, my ancestors, literally urged me to do a hoodoo course, and I did, and teaching you not from books or anything like that, because the way that I practice my spirituality, it is information that has been passed down to me through my matriarch, through the mother line, through my mother's line, that has been practicing, that we know of, since mid 1800s. I could trace it back down to that. So yes, so I practice a family tradition, and those are the rituals and information that I share with my students. And those classes started in December, and then they finished up. It's about 6 to 8 weeks, so it's about 2 months of your time. Very intense courses. We have lectures, video series, and a lot of video material from the book my book that I wrote specifically for that class, that is not available to the public. And I don't plan at this time to make it available to the public. It's too much of me and it's so personal. I'd rather it be something that I just share specifically with the close group of my students, which are more like my godchildren and part of my spiritual family. So that classes are finishing up. I'm going to be starting the second bout in March, and those seatings have been taken, of course. And then we have the third one, which is the last of the year, in August, and all those spots have been filled as well. Alongside that, the spirits also kind of were talking to me and inspired me, and that's where the January class came from. That a lot of people are walking around with psychic traumas, are walking around possibly suffering in this life, being stagnant, wondering why we have certain issues and things of that nature. And a lot of the times, through personal experience, I find that it has a lot to do with our ancestors, the ones that walked before us, our familial spirits, our family spirits, and their traumas. Okay. And so the spirits were like, you should create a short and condensed workshop that deals specifically with this. You do not necessarily have to be someone who practices conjure, hoodoo, or even witchcraft to get something out of this workshop, because we all have family members. And even if you're someone who's adopted, there's still traumas that we're inheriting from our family line, right? Possibly even our adopted family as well. So I feel like this is a class, this is a workshop that if you're really struggling with things, would really be beneficial to you, because once we heal that family line where the traumas are coming from, then in this life we could finish off whatever they weren't able to finish and tackle issues that have trickled down, that we have inherited from our family line. We could deal with it in this lifetime, right? So that's why I feel it's important. And in this course, there's some reading material, there are some videos, okay? And there are also rituals that I will create through a very personal reading that's part of the course. This specifically is about ancestral healing. And through the information that we gather, there will be specific rituals that are created for you, specific instructional video that's created for you, because everybody's spiritual journey, everybody's healing journey is different. It's not a one size fit all, and you will find out how the spirits want to work with you on certain issues that you may have inherited. These issues could prevent you from having abundance, could affect your love life, could affect your fear of dabbling into spirituality if you're being called to do so. And if we don't fix these issues, our future generations will then inherit that. And the cycle of ancestral trauma, psychic trauma, spiritual traumas may continue. That's where you get things like, oh, you know, this family has curses, or this family has, like, they're inheriting this curse condition, or these jinx conditions, or these cross conditions. This is what these classes are about, is to heal yourself so that the future generations that come from your seed, that come from your line, can continue to advance, and they live their best life, and then their children live their best life, and we could pretty much break the cycles of the past. Face the past, deal with the past, and then break those cycles. This is not, again, a hoodoo course. I have classes for that. This is an ancestral healing course that can pretty much, you can be in any path, and it will still be information that will resonate with you. And again, like I said, this is like a 3-part course that lasts a couple of weeks. Okay, and the second bout is going to be May of 2020. So now you might be saying, okay, that sounds like a great idea. I love it. But like, how do you know it works? I tested this on myself. And I also, before I even put it in the shop, it has been work that I've been doing on myself for years. It's also work that I've done with others, outside of myself, people that the spirits have brought to me to work with me. So this is something that's been proven to work. The important thing about this is, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to face the darker aspects of yourself, the shadow side? Are you willing to do what it takes to heal these traumas so that you can live your best life and that you can manifest the things that you want in this lifetime. So my personal story with this is about last year. This is when I've been working with healing, but I really started doing it in 2019. No, not true, not 2019, sorry. 2018. So it's been about 2 years, because now we're in 2020. I keep thinking we're in 2019. So in 2018, so about 2 years ago, 2 years ago, year and a half, something like that. My daughter was doing a project for high school. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Because she's going to be yeah. She graduated 2 years ago. Okay, I'm right. Backing it up. Get to the point. Okay, so about 2 years ago, she came to me for a project in school. And she was like, the teacher wants to know, basically, where all the students, so each of the students had to do like a family tree and write up how they got their last names, pretty much like tracing your family back. I was bothered by this in a way. The more and more I started to do research, because how can I explain this? So yes, I have a beautiful black mother, a beautiful black Haitian mother who also has Puerto Rican descent as well. And I always knew my mother was black, she was always, but when you're from the Caribbean, a lot of times when people ask you where you're from, you usually say the country you come from. So my mom will always say, I'm from the Caribbean. You know what I mean? Same thing that I would answer myself. And then people would look at me, yeah, but what race are you? Even though the diaspora transcended, so there was slavery in America, and there was also slavery in the Caribbean, Mexico, lots of Latin America, because a lot of people don't know that the Spaniards also enslaved people, okay, outside of America. So did the French, and so on and so forth. It's why in Haiti they speak Creole, okay, they speak Creole, they speak French Creole, and that's why in places like Puerto Rico, Cuba, people speak Spanish, because they speak the language of their colonizers. And I noticed when I came here at 5 years old, when people would ask you, where are you from? People will be like, oh, I'm Chinese, or I'm Filipino, or I'm Black American, or something like that. So I noticed in America, you kind of identify, not everybody, but a lot of people identify with their race, and things like that. Or if they do say American, I'm Puerto Rican American, or I'm Cuban American. Well, Puerto Ricans are American, so you could just say Puerto Rican, but you know what I mean. I'm Dominican American, or I'm even the native people in this country, they'll say, oh, they're Native American, they're native to America. Like there's always like the race and then the word America. But in other parts of the world, you identify yourself with the country of your origin. A lot of people wonder why. They're like, oh, but this person looks black. So race-wise, this person in America is classified as black, right? Because race, ethnicity, and culture are three different things, right? So race-wise, I am a mixed race person. I have African descendancy from my mother's side. I have, and also Native descendancy from both my mother and father's side. And I do have European descendancy involuntarily, and that's not to put myself down, but the way that my family got that descendancy wasn't of the greatest. It wasn't love, put it that way, but it's still part of my DNA. So I am a mixed race. I classify myself as a mixed race woman of color, and I do consider myself a black woman and a Native American woman, right? So in my culture, I am Afro-Latina, I am Puerto Rican and Haitian, okay? So that took me a long time to understand those identities, because again, when you're outside of the United States, is your country first. And the reason why that is, when I started researching the history of like Puerto Rico and Haiti and things like that, a lot of it had to do because, especially in Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico was taken over in the late 1800s by America. There was a time in Puerto Rico that speaking Spanish was illegal, carrying a Puerto Rican flag was illegal, and they pretty much wanted to Americanize Puerto Rico. They even encouraged people of European descent to open up businesses and mix with the population, because at the time that they were taken over by the United States from the Spanish, uh, from Spain, and a lot of people don't know that Spain did allow Puerto Rico in the last 50 years to self-rule. So Puerto Rico did self-rule for 50 years. When the United States came, they actually had less freedom under the American government, and to this day are still a colony. And that's just factual. And so there was a lot of people with Black descent, African descent, Native descent. They encouraged the locals to literally breed the brownness out of Puerto Rican. It's why you have some Puerto Ricans that have German, Dutch, and a whole bunch of other mixtures even after slavery. They also try to write out race from our history. So pretty much, no, you're not a Black person, you're not a Native person, you are a Puerto Rican. And in this way, hiding the fact that in many parts of the world, not just the United States, people of color are constantly dealing with racism. But if you don't talk about it, then it doesn't exist. They did the same thing with Cuba. You know what I mean? You're just Cuban. It's like they erase the melanin, the color, the history. In Mexico, one of the people that freed Mexico was actually a Black Mexican, and he's just now a Mexican. They literally don't even want to recognize the Black population in Mexico. They are African descent people in Mexico, and a lot of people don't know that. Mexicans come in all different shades and colors. Latinos themselves come in all different shades and colors. That's why a lot of people now are taking back their Blackness and saying, no, we're Afro-Latinos. We are recognizing that we are people that come from Africans. Africans landed on the island, and we have that blood still running through our veins. It's kind of like taking back our race, taking back our culture. And in the islands, a lot of people practice, a lot of people practice voodoo, Haitian voodoo in Haiti. In Puerto Rico, it's espiritismo, santeria, 21 divisions, espiritismo, sancismo, so on and so forth, right? These are the religions that our ancestors left behind for us. And that's why when I started practicing my cultural practices and I went back to my roots, I felt home, because this was my way of healing with my ancestors and healing with my lineage, And when I did this research for my daughter, that really, really hit home for me, because I saw that our last name changed many times over. And yes, while I recognize that Puerto Rico has slavery, it's not until you're actually reading slave transcripts and reading how these people were describing human beings and the racist terms. Some of them were really old Castilian that I had to actually look up the words. What does that actually mean? Because we don't speak Spanish like that anymore in Puerto Rico. And I got a name. Now that's rare, but I actually got a name. And I found out because, if you are someone from the diaspora, your family line kind of stops to a certain point. So we were able to trace her to the mid 1800s. And she was taken around the ages, they estimate she was 10 or 12 years old. And they literally took her from Africa itself. So I do have, and then it was so interesting because when I did my ancestry, which I made the video private because some people are just so annoying with that. I was crying because I was like, wow, this makes it more real, because I do have African descent. in my DNA. And and then seeing her name and reading the transcripts, knowing that she had children, unfortunately, that was sold away. She did get to keep one of her children, which was mixed race. He was part Native African, and yeah, she got to see freedom before she died, and so did her son, and he got to marry and things like that. That's when I noticed, like, so she had one last name. It was because that was the family that owned her, and I remember crying. I don't know, it just made it real. I called my mom, and she was crying, and like I said, like I knew this was my family lineage. I knew that happened in my family, but to actually be able to trace a town in Africa, because for a lot of us, yes, we have African descent, but we don't know what tribe we come from. We just have the cultural practices or the music that they left behind in the Caribbean, but we don't know exactly what tribe sometimes. And seeing that the practices that I've been practicing and I've seen my elders practicing actually does tie into my family lineage was beautiful. Seeing that I do have Taino descent, because there's a common lie that's been spread in the Caribbean because they refuse to give the Taino back their tribal lands. They teach us that Tainos are extinct, and a lot of us, that's why in the Caribbean we elevate the Taino so much, because they don't want to recognize us as a tribe that we are. And they're finding out through science that that lineage is still there. There are a lot of mixed Tainos still living in the Caribbean, and that's why Caribbean people are so proud of the Taino and the Araks, and they still claim them, and they still practice spiritualities, especially in Piritimo. We do revere El Indio and things like that, because that's our way of taking back what they have stolen from us, and things of that nature. So, seeing this in my DNA, the DNA telling the story, knowing what part of Africa she came from, imagining the pain that she went through being ripped away from her homeland to a foreign land, and as a child, being enslaved, and bearing children that were mixed race. So you already know those children were most likely a product of a non-consensual sexual relationship, and then from there her son had a daughter, okay, my great great grandmother, and she, was classified as a human female Negro child, when she was born on her birth certificates. And there was no parent's name on her birth certificate, because even after slavery ended, she was still not seen as a human being. And she wasn't allowed to get educated. She wasn't allowed to have the advantages that we can have today. And she had to walk around with an ID card that classified her as colored. And while she was working in a European family's home, a Spaniard family's home, she ended up mysteriously pregnant, never had a boyfriend, never been with a guy before. So you already know how that happened. And she had a mixed race daughter, and never put the father on the birth certificate. So unfortunately, her daughter was known as what they will call a bastard. She had her mother's last name, okay, the last name that we still use, which pretty much was the name that was from one of the last masters that owned my family. And so this is what I'm talking about, ancestral healing. We have rape, we have kidnapping, we have a mother who's raising her daughter by herself, and she saw fit. She made arrangements with a Spaniard family and did not an arranged marriage, because a person of color and a white person, because Spaniards were classified as white. They're from Europe, okay. They allowed them to be together, but he could never marry her. He had his legal wife through the Catholic Church, so they did an arrangement. Is o conjunto yugal, like living together. He would have to provide a place for her to live. He doesn't have to ever marry her, and he has to recognize her children if they have any. This arrangement was made at the age of 9. So at the age of 9, my great grandmother never went to school. She had to be with a man who was about 18 or 19 years old that had his own family. She produced many children with him. I believe they had 5 live children. Because she was young, she did have miscarriages. She basically was his concubine until he passed away. In our family, we didn't know about the other family. We always thought they were legally married. It wasn't until we started researching this history and my aunt started researching our history that we found out that she was never the wife. We found out how young she was when she entered this legal agreement. And even though we might want to look at that like, oh my God, you have to remember the times, the early 1900s, the segregation, sharecropping, lack of education, the occupation of the United States, and what was going on with that. Okay, so again, this also has to do with ancestral healing because now you have a daughter who's repeating the cycle of the first ancestor that I was able to trace down, being a small child, being taken away to a foreign family. And she was kind of at the mercy of this man who never loved her. Let's be real. She was a fetish, you know, she was a fetish. And then she has a daughter. And then her daughter was born passing. So at first, my grandmother classified herself as colored. Upon further investigation and research, she changes her identification to white. And that allowed her to be the first person to legally marry a Spaniard. Okay, and that's what happened. And that's how we got the last name that we have now. My mother got her last name. The marriage was abusive. Okay. He was very racist towards her. He was very derogatory towards her because he knew what she was. You know, he could just look at her mother and know what she was. Okay, because when you're passing, you kind of have to deny your family type of thing. But he knew who her mother was. Okay. And my grandmother, I found out through this research, my grandmother was illiterate because most of her life growing up, she identified as colored, which made it almost impossible for her to get her education. My mother was the first person in our family and her siblings to be born with the right to education. Okay. My grandmother separated from her abusive husband, not divorced. They like he literally took another woman. She moved out. There was a lot of physical domestic violence and things like that. She met a Hugan, a Haitian Hugan in Puerto Rico, and she fell in love with him. She fell in love with this black man. And in that relationship that they had, the love of her life, because they started a public relationship, they were together and everything. My mother was born through the fruits of that relationship. That's where I get my Haitian side. He was a Haitian that was born and raised in Haiti and escaped to Puerto Rico because he never wanted to go to the United States because of what was going on in Haiti. And my grandmother went under his mentorship, and she became a mambo, and she, originated in Santeria, and then I found out, actually got initiated into Haitian voodoo, and they practiced together. And that's where the voodoo comes in my family. And this was what the issues I was working with within myself. The psychic traumas of all the raping, the women being powerless of their times. When my grandmother was discovered, this relationship was made to break up. You know, my mother's the only one of her siblings that has like visual African descent. My mother doesn't look mixed at all. And she had to grow up with very light skinned siblings, and her being the darkest one. And you know, all the self-hate that she had growing up in the 60s, growing up in the 70s, because you know, America itself was still segregated and was going through trying to desegregate and trying to make Black Americans as human beings. Those were similar fights that were going on in Puerto Rico as well. And my mom grew up in an era where Black was not beautiful. You know, Black was not seen as beautiful. And, you know, the very toys you play with, the cartoons that she would watch, and the things that she was exposed to, it was just so open back then that she struggled. She struggled with that. And so I did a lot of work through voodoo, through ancestral healing, to heal the traumas, to heal the struggles, to self-accept even myself, because I inherited my mother's insecurities. I remember growing up and being made fun of by lighter skinned people sometimes, or being mixed race and not being able to fall under one category. So I'm not brown enough, but I'm not white enough. And, you know, all these struggles that I had growing up, you know, what do I identify as? Because in America, that's important to know, where are you from, you know, and for some people, that's a really hard question to answer. So this is why I did this course, because I know that there's people that struggle with issues that they inherited in this life because of things that our ancestors, that our familiares went through. And I don't want my children, my daughters, my sons to inherit the traumas that we have. I remember trying to assimilate and be more European growing up, because I'm 40 years old and there weren't dolls that looked like me. There weren't always people on TV that looked like me, and things like that, which in the 90s that started to change, and I was excited about that. But, you know, even so, there was a lot of struggles, you know, and things like that. So, you know, I dealt with racism and prejudices and things like that. You know, as a matter of fact, recently I was walking home and this Caribbean lady walks up to me, and she's like, you know, I do hair. And I'm like, oh, that's great. She goes, I could do something about that. I said, about what? She goes, you know, I could fix your hair. I could make it pretty, and because, you know, straight is pretty, basically. And she just said it like it was nothing, you know what I mean? And things like that. I've had people, when I stopped straightening my hair, oh, it looks like your straightener broke. And because sometimes my hair is bigger than others. And, you know, I've had people make fun of my hair. I have had people make fun of my skin color. When I really faced that a lot when I used to work on the psychic hotline, and people would see my face on video and they would just all of a sudden change how they talk, and they're talking Ebonics all of a sudden, or they're talking like spicy Latina, or they're commenting, you know, trolling on about my skin color and things like that. I faced that on YouTube. It doesn't bother me as much anymore, because it's something that I worked through, I've continued to work through, and things like that. Because my mom's answer to being a woman who's dark skinned and still going through so much racism, because my mom still wears beautiful African head scarves, and my mom looks African, you know what I mean? You can tell she definitely has African descent, you know. She her answer was to pretty much whiten up her children, you know, make us lighter skin. If she makes us lighter skin, then we'll have a better life. And she saw that wasn't necessarily true, and things like that. And those are issues that I have healed within myself, and I've taught, you know, my daughters to play with all different types of dolls from all the different color spectrums, have all types of different friends, and just be self accepting and loving the melanin the melanin within ourselves, right? Whatever skin color we may have, in the beautiful rainbow that's human, that's life. Because beauty comes in all different shades and sizes, and cultures and races and things like that. And that was something that I had to teach my children, who struggle. Like my second oldest, he struggles with how dark his skin is. He's my darkest child. And, I remember him growing up, that certain little girls were told not to play with him. Little kids. Because racism is taught and it's learned. We're not born like that. It's a disease, it's a disease that's taught. And so, this is why I wanted to make this. Maybe, it doesn't have to be, what I mean, someone who's from the diaspora to take these classes. There could be issues in your family that maybe they struggle with alcoholism all their lives, or they struggle with gambling addictions, or whatever the case may be. This is a class that's inclusive, and that's for anyone who wants to take it. But this is my personal journey. This is my personal story about the issues that I had to deal with, the relationships with men, the self-love, and things like that, and all the traumas that they dealt with, that I inherited in this life, because I am also a survivor of traumas of a very abusive marriage, which now looking back at my family line, I understand why I was attracted to a certain person that I married. He had a lot of the traits of my great grandfather. You see what I'm saying? So this is why ancestral healing courses, the workshop, is so important. Why are we doing the behaviors that we do? And let's work on that. Let's heal this so we can live our best life. I think I'm gonna see. No, I think we'll squeeze in the midpoint of I needed to get that because my throat. The midpoint, what I've been up to. So as you know, I've been finished up the hoodoo courses, working on the ancestral healing courses. Okay. I finally finished working with the sacral chakra, so I'm about to draw a card and see which chakra I need to work with next. I was working with the sacral chakra for like months. Still using a lot of this meditation incense, like my second box now. It's been really good. I've been working with peach calcite for the sacral chakra, and no, sorry guys. Okay, also working with my snowflake obsidian and clear quartz are some of the crystals I've been working with. Honey calcite, clear quartz heart, peach calcite. No, not peach calcite, peach selenite. Oh my goodness. Melanite, because I've been doing a lot of dream work lately. The dreams that I've been getting, they're not dreams, put it that way. Big changes coming up in my life right now. And with the sacral chakra crystal. So those are the crystals I've been working with the most so far these last couple of weeks. Okay, so from January 15 to February 12. Decks that I've been, candles that I've been lighting. This is my second one now. I had another one of this, and as you can see, it's going a lot, using this a lot for meditations and stuff like that, because just a lot of healing. So changes are very emotional. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes, changes, anything that's different, can cause stress. So this has been very calming for me. I got this in Bath and Body Works, and it's the Stress Relief Eucalyptus and Spearmint Candle. And it smells so good that I even ended up getting the room freshener, so the plugins, because the smell is that good. Continuing to use my Florida water a lot on myself, and so on and so forth, just keeping the vibrations going. And then decks that I've worked with, I got this one in a trade, and it's the New Era Elements, and it's really good. I'm still working with it right now. As a matter of fact, I pulled this card, which literally I am a busy bee. That's really, really accurate. But this deck is good. I'm going to continue to work with it for the rest of February. It's literally not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart. The messages on this deck could be a lot for some, you know, but I completely love it. It is the energy that I need at this time, because I'm going through a lot of changes. I'm not sad about it. They're welcome changes. They're all part of the life cycle, you know. The ending of some cycles that need to be ended, but really excited about the brand new beginning that's going to bring, and things of that nature. And I'll do another video talking about that specifically. And then you have the Light Seers Tarot. And this one I also got in a trade, and I have since reordered the deck because I'm not using it. I used it for like 2 weeks exclusively and got really great and beautiful readings from this one. And we'll continue to work with this deck. It is gorgeous. I love how bendy the cardstock is. And I would have never gotten this deck had I not done a trade with a friend that I have, that I met here on YouTube. And I'm so glad that I met her, because we traded decks, and I would have never discovered this deck had I not done a low buy year. And it really wasn't a deck that I was drawn to at all. I've seen millions of walkthroughs of it. But it wasn't until I got it in my hands that I was like, wow, this deck really reads well. It's not as light and fluffy as I thought it was, and it's just really good. The Oracle deck that I've been working with is Precious Gems Oracle. The guidebook is pretty good. Like, I've been working with it. I'm going to continue to work with this one for the ending of the month. This is my card for today. And it's just been a beautiful, beautiful deck to work with. It's inclusive. The faces on this are gorgeous. And I've been using this deck a lot for self-healing. I've been working with it for myself and doing a lot of intense, one more workings, like work with it. Not workings, but like work with it. And I love it. The guidebook is good. And the meanings definitely resonate with me. Today's message is working. And, you know, which pretty much I am creating some things. I've been a busy bee, and things like that, working with the spirits on some goals that I will share when they come to rotation, of course. And then the Tiger's Eye message is all about stability, and pretty much I have to be consistent with it. And that is very true. So all of that is true. And the last deck is the Universal Rider-Waite. I've been using this deck for professional readings. These are the gorgeous backs, and yeah, like, this deck has been on my work desk, and I've been working with it and giving beautiful readings with it, and continuing to study the symbology of the Rider-Waite deck. And yeah, so just working, family, big changes, and wanting to explain the ancestral courses that I've done a second bout of. So the link on my channel when you go to the description box or the description bar, whatever you want to call it, when you click on the link, it's going to take you straight to my website. That's me, yay, Shamanic Arawak Priestess there. And all you have to do is click on the where it says store, and it'll take you to my various services, yada do. And you could read my reviews. There's testimonials on my website. And you're going to see the Ancestral Healing Workshop, okay? That's the one that I'm talking about. Is literally on the link of the description box of every single one of my videos. I kind of wanted to throw it out there because that's one of the frequently asked questions. How can I contact you? It's on the description bar of every one of my videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you stayed with me this long, thank you, thank you, thank you. This video turned out way longer than I thought it was going to turn out. Basically, the point of this video is I thought it was a good topic to talk about during Black History Month, because a lot of us are walking around with psychic traumas of the past, okay? And we need to heal from those things. And we, you know, and if you're ready to do that and take that journey with me, this is the class for you. This is the workshop for you. Seat space is limited, so please try to book that as soon as possible, because spots do fill up quickly. This is going to be done in May of 2020. So it's still on my website, which means there's still space available. Okay, guys? Much love, much light, much blessings. If you want to work with me on one-on-one basis, go to my website, which is on the description box of every or bar of every one of my videos, shamanicarawakpriestess.com. And you can book a one-on-one psychic reading with me. I connect to the past, present, and future, give you time frames, all that good stuff. Read the reviews on there, and things of that nature. And I also provide other spiritual services. I am a root worker, a voodoo sant. So I do perform rituals for others. That is not listed on my website because the price may vary depending on the complexity of your work. That's why I always recommend doing a pre-consultation. Once you do a pre-consultation, I will discuss what I'm going to do for you on your behalf. We'll discuss the work, and we'll discuss pricing and so on and so forth. I also do exorcism and spiritual healings and things of that nature. For any one of my spiritual services that are not listed on my website, there is a contact form on my website. You can contact me. Please keep that to business inquiries only. Again, much love, much light, much blessings. Until the next video, guys. Happy Black History Month. Bye.